ineffable, magical more, which is always all around us.
Exactly. Right. That somebody asked me, well, like, how do you define awareness, and what is awareness, and particularly awareness and attention. So attention is kind of when we have spotlight awareness, we're paying attention. So actually, that's when we do so deliberately. For most people, their awareness is kind of like this fuzzy spotlight somewhat. But if we shift it to floodlight awareness, then
it's a deliberate focus.
Right, exactly, and shifting of it, and just shifting that we only notice something to suddenly notice. When you put a floodlight, you see everything around you, so it's a shift of awareness.
It reminds me of this movie, Born Identity.
Born Identity.
The first of the three.
Yes.
The first of the three, where he's in the diner and he doesn't know why, but he's explaining to the girl, I see so and so and so and so here. I could run a mile. Blah blah blah. Do you remember that scene where he's so aware?
He's doing a read. He's doing a read of his situation. Correct.
He is hyper aware.
Right. Right. That's why that being an agent of the universe is such a profound self-conception, because it does lead to that type of awareness. Or being a life detective, same thing. You look at the world, you see implications. He was taking all the implications, right? And he was aware of the implications.
Being a life detective.
We come into it as a whole session.
I like that.
Oh, it is. You're gonna love it. Oh man, I love being a life detective. It's fantastic. You'll see when we get to it. All right, instead of our little daily activities being actions which narrow our awareness or steal our attention and consciousness, they now become connecting links to spirit, to greater awareness and to more, to awesome and to that magic of being we so love. And this is kind of a nice deeper point, because we do those routine things, they're boring, I kind of have to do them. But if while you're doing them, you're connecting to them more, fuck, well, I don't care if I have to do them. It makes no difference. I'm being happy being alive. I don't care what the hell I do. It doesn't matter anymore. So,
you know what? You're being present.
Precisely.
Yes.
Now.
Precisely. Book 2 of the Biala series is called The Perfection of Now.
Yeah.
For that reason, exactly. For exactly that reason.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I don't mean to minimize what you're saying. That's a huge realization what you're saying. Yes, it is living in the now, precisely.
Yeah.
Wow in the now!
Right,
Wow.
exactly.
Wow in the now.
But to take John's point though, is to live fully in the now. There's a big difference. Everybody's in the now, so you can't be anywhere else.
Now.
It's to live fully.
It's the awareness.
Deliberately.
Being
fully.
in the now.
Right. Totally, completely, utterly,
Deliberately.
everything.
Being
deliberately.
here right now. Being
Deliberately
being
in the now.
present.
Yes, being deliberately.
stirring the pot.
What's that?
Melding, moving, shaping.
Another profound effect is to connect us to deliberately choosing to do each and every little thing. This way we shift from being a victim of life to living deliberately, a profound shift which has far-reaching consequences on our psychology and moods. When we do things because we want to, that shift changes everything and moves us to living with power. Yes, that's very big.
Yeah.
A lot of people live in the now or have this kind of, and you see it in the kind of woo-woo stuff. They don't end up living with power, and that's where you kind of know when you separate the things out, where you kind of know, yeah, is there something real or not? You look at them, see the end point, do they really live with power or not? That's it. When you got to live with power, now you know you got something really real. Yeah, it's the difference. It makes a massive difference. So I'm in the now, and I'm living with power. Oh, wow! Suddenly it's like everything changed.
Here's my takeaway. You have no power in the past or the future, because it either happened or it's about to happen, but you can't do anything about it.
Right.
You only have power in the now.
Exactly. And living with power, we also mean it.
It's deep.
Yes. Right. I will wait for a second. That's why the bald head, you see, it's less friction resistance for when you go deep diving.
Yeah. The universe doesn't have to get through a thick hair to get to your brain.
That's exactly right. Good for you to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But living with power, it's also to acknowledge the reality of life. That there is power around us. It's not just the power of doing. Like you said, that's about the power of doing. We're talking about the ineffable power of the world around us, right? That's when you wake up in the morning and you greet that, and you're greeting power, as it were. Right? Grace, it's a power. Joy, it's a power. There's all sorts of powers in the world. So that's the difference with living with power. That you now not, kind of ignorant of that power, but because you're becoming aware of it, you can align to it and attune to it. So
You beckon it.
That's another thing.
Like
There's
spiritual.
energy you can't see,
Exactly.
you can feel it, you can sense it,
Right.
but unless you're in the now, you wouldn't.
Right, exactly. And also, we want to get to that point where we say, yes, everybody knows there's energy around them. When we have sufficient awareness and attention
An attunement.
and attunement, we start to understand what that energy is precisely. We can really tune into it, and then it becomes power. Because energy, power is deliberate, focused, intent energy, or energy of intent. So, very big deal.
And what application is when you're communicating with somebody to be present in the now, you pick up things that if you were thinking of something else, you weren't present, you wouldn't pick that up.
That's why
So it's like that energy.
Right.
Yes.
In that triangle, the very first, when you put awareness, the very first sub-spike, little tree, little branch off of awareness is attention, capital A attention. Very different to just regular attention. Capital A attention is a power, precisely. We can change things with our attention as well. Right? You pay attention in a particular way, you change things. You just walk into a room and you shift attention. Suddenly, they see you making that shift. Oh, okay, things have changed. So attention is incredibly powerful. Yeah, very powerful.
And granting someone your attention is a gift too. Like if you're saying something and I'm paying exquisite attention, that.
I'll get it for you.
Where is it?
It's over here.
What are you looking for?
I'll give them some eye drops and go to them.
That gift of attention, it helps the other person. It's a boost, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what you get when you're in an audience. I mean, when you have an audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the attention is focused on you, so it helps you actually be
follow
able
that for a second.
to
Earnest attention too.
delineate.
Dang, you put a lot in, man.
Oh yeah. Spread it around. Life.
I think you used the rest of it up.
No, squeeze it. There you go.
And you see it too when people don't give people attention. They might not know why, inadvertently. It's subconscious a lot of the thing.
Attention is
Interesting.
incredible power.
I'll tell you something I've noticed is that unless I'm like if I'm zoned into the material and different frequencies I pick up differently, right? So you're somewhat soft spoken and your pitch is at like a certain level. It's harder for me to like do that unless I'm deliberate of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Well,
yeah.
here we're doing something else, and we're so close to each other. We don't have to look at each other because we can feel each other. It's like look when you had that shift, we felt it. I mean, I wasn't looking at you. I mean, I think John was saying something. We're still the same. But, however, so there's this. I mean, because we're in such
True.
close proximity.
But you have to be aware of that energy. And I guess what the point I was trying to make was like, how do I say this? It's harder for me to switch my attention if I'm not like it's harder to break through the attention bubble.
Well, because you're on an attack, right? You're basically assimilating information, so you're very focused. It's like you're running on this track and you absorbing everything. So peripheral stuff, it's I understand what's going on, and it makes sense.
Also,
However, it all filters in because you're not just over there. The wholeness of your being is also present to the situation, so you inadvertently also getting that information, but in a whole different way.
Also,
you don't have to pay attention directly. Or
I was just saying, also you attune very much to my energy, and
That's
my
what I'm
way
saying,
of my frequency. So to make that shift to Elias, it's a very different shift.
Yeah, and it's not expedient either.
Just energy,
Yeah.
energy conservation.
And it makes perfect sense too, in terms of the succinctness and the directness and also the penetration that Saul uses in his communication.
Yeah.
Because he's getting inside of you. I'm not making that
Yeah.
that bird. Yeah.
There's a
Because
link.
it's a bird. Yeah. And the thing is, anybody can do that. That's the power of communication. If you really want to communicate to somebody, you've got to penetrate them. You want to get inside. That's what he's doing all of the time.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So
I'm going to take this
it's-
opportunity to run back to the pad. I forgot something.
Okay. It's kind of a neat thing to
Think about.
well, and to be cognizant of, because you communicate. Like if you really want to get, you've got to penetrate.
Yeah.
You've got to like get your energy's got to go in there.
I
Watch
did that with
him.
writing, so
Yeah. Yes.
I gotta learn how to do that with my voice too.
Yeah.
Do what with your voice,
And that'll
Myles?
come, because those are all things that you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you have to train.
Do what with your voice?
Will you let him know? I'm gonna run back to the
Ah,
house real quick.
Yeah.
I'll be back in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Good, good. Excellent day. See you in a bit.
Be right back.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. I am so
Picking something up at the house.
hungry.
Know what you mean.
I'm kind of,
Your pizza?
I've like got all sorts of energy.
Oh, good, Olivia. Good, good, good. I love it. I love it. I'm enjoying it.
What about Alex Trebek? He was so like yeah, never know. I do.
So that was good timing, John.
What's that?
That's good timing on the call. Miles went to
Yeah.
your place real
It's
quick
so
to pick up
sad.
some.
My brother has pancreatic cancer.
And you said,
And
yeah.
he's in stage 3, and he's bedridden right now.
Yeah.
And he was just telling me about the visiting nurse who came, and then the palliative care nurse who came, what medications he's got to be on now, and he needs a psychiatric help to deal with the
Wow.
end-of-life issues. And this palliative care nurse also specializes in that. Will be there next week.
Interesting.
And he wanted me to be there, and I
Wow.
can't be there because I'm traveling Wednesday.
Wow.
But I'll be there another time. She's going to come back every week, he said. But he hasn't resolved. He hasn't accepted.
That he has the cancer yet?
Oh, he knows logically.
Yeah, hasn't accepted the consequence of the cancer.
Right. Why, kind of like, why me, why now, I have more to do. He's asking these kinds of questions.
Wow. Wow.
What's next?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Again, look at that from the point of view of impeccability. It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
You're spending your energy on questioning something. Why me? Why this? If you understand why, is it going to change the reality of it? No.
Right.
The question isn't why it happened. The question is, what can I do about it?
Right.
How do I live with it? I can't change it. Okay, if I accept it as a fact, okay. If not, I look for alternatives or whatever. Yes, look into all the remedies. Doing, in other words, right? Impeccability always comes down to that application that's meaningless. So what can I do about it? If I can't do anything about it, how do I deal with it? So that's it. Now I'm using my energy productively. Instead of, running in that circle, why me? It's a question that has no answer, and even if you do get the answer, what difference does it make?
But he's wanted to take action all his life.
There you go. Right.
He had the option to take light doses of chemotherapy to try to knock it down a little. Maybe his goal is to extend his time.
Why?
But unfortunately, out of the 5 chemo treatments he's had, 3 of them put him in the hospital.
Wow.
Because it just, just
Messed
took
up
so
his
much
system.
out of him.
Wow.
So while he wants to be aggressive with it,
Yeah.
it's having a negative effect on him in that sense.
So now it would be, from my perspective, I would say, it's time to shift onto the release, and basically you've got this pressure now. Your time is short. You're going to deal with your serious issues. You don't have time to waste with your shit. Death is knocking on your door, and death is an advisor saying to you, hey, bloody hell, you can't worry about why you had you've got to deal with the reality of me. Get your shit in order, in other words.
And he's doing that by
No, I mean
requesting
personal.
the palliative care nurse to come by and help him out.
I'm just sharing from my point of view because it may give perspective.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I have given him my advice, which is focus one day at a time. Worry about down there. You don't know what's going to happen. Take it one day at a time.
I mean, when people have that pressure on death, of death on them, and they know it's kind of coming soon, if they shift to getting prepared for it, that becomes a profound activity.
I think that's what he's trying to do.
Right. That's deep stuff. Now you say, okay, what can I do? Have I got things resolved within myself? What things within me do I still kind of need to deal with? Like, for instance, self-trust, self-appreciation, taking responsibility for my life, developing patience of some kind, dealing with injustice and unfairness. That usually is something that really screws people up. They haven't made peace with the fact that there's injustice and unfairness in the world. At some point, we just have to say it is what it is. It's a necessary thing. Why is crack necessary in the world? It's not in itself that it's necessary. It's because we have to have a system where people learn for themselves. If they don't learn for themselves, they're all going to be robots. If they have to learn for themselves, they have to be free to make mistakes. And if they can free to make mistakes, well, then you're going to get injustice and fairness and cruelty and meanness and ridiculousness, right? You just have to. So square that away. Okay? I understand how the system works. Okay? It's coming. It's part of the course, the module.
Yeah.
How it all makes sense. That's very big part of it.
So-
All in the service of awareness.
Right. So I'm curious to get your take on something. So a lot of people couch our lessons as being multiple lives, reincarnation, all that stuff.
Right.
I had to learn the lesson, it was my karma
Right,
to learn
right,
all.
right.
What is the impeccability take on all of that?
If it is, I want to be prepared. If it's not, I want to be prepared.
That's how I think.
Exactly. I don't know. I can't say for sure.
Yeah.
It's a nice idea, but to put all my eggs in one basket, fuck no. I'm not going to take that chance. That's impeccability.
Yeah.
No, taking no chances. I'm being scrupulous,
Right.
being thorough, being diligent. That's it. That is no chances. What if it turns out to be a lot of shit? Okay. If there's nothing, I want to have maximized my time now.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's all we can control.
If it does turn out to be something, I also want to be prepared for it. It's like that thing Luke said about being in fluid reality. Let's just say that's the thing. If I don't have my character in order, I'm probably going to have to redo this whole thing again.
So that,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, that leads also to this whole idea of being impeccable. You have to want it. You have
Exactly.
to have the intent. There are people who don't give a crap. They just want to act like they act. They're totally
Right.
unconscious.
Right. But that's the power of us particularly. Now, I can't speak for all people, but good, earnest people that I know who are sincere about their goodness, when they make that connectivity to impeccability, to being ethically really profoundly, deeply ethical, and being good, being really, really good, then you can't not want to be impeccable.
Right.
That's what I like. I like when
That's
I make
the
that connectivity. I don't have to want it anymore. Yes, initially we do have to want it to get it, but once you really make all the connections, it's just automatic. It's just me. I can't not want it, and that's huge.
But for
That's
those
huge.
people who haven't had the desire yet
Right.
to live an impeccable life,
Right.
what would be their motivation to change? So take, for example, somebody who had some trauma in their lives and they're in jail because of drugs and blah, 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 blah. How would you shift their perspective so that they would want it? Not that we should
Right.
do that to somebody, but how would they
Right.
themselves?
Get them immersed in the reality that they don't want, and then you present an alternative. Say, do you want to continue living what you have now? No. Do you want to continue being crappy? Do you want to continue being miserable? Do you want to continue being childish? Do you want to continue being self-pity? Do you want to continue complaining? I'm listing all the usual stuff, right? Do you want to continue being a slave of society? Do you want to continue being conventional? Do you want to continue to have your moods dictated from outside? They don't think it consciously like that. They kind of know all that because I can ask pretty much anybody those questions. And they're going to say yes, 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 or no, 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 no. Either way, they'll acknowledge the truth of it. But you ask them, make a list of all your crap. They're not going to make that same list. So it's just an awareness thing. It's amazing how much people know without knowing. But when you articulate it for them, oh no, I don't want to be complaining. I don't have my moods from outside. I don't want to be a slave of convention. I don't want to be a robot. Blah 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 blah. Okay, what's one way you can solve that? All right, impeccability. See how this goes? Okay, all right. And now it gives them a way out. You basically just make them aware of the fullness of the concept, that now it's this light in the tunnel. Because most people are in that immersion of all their crap, and they have no replacement, they have no right to.
So they gave me an idea. The slide in the beginning where you say, am I an aware being? Am I?
Right.
But if you put a slide right before that, do I want to continue to feel crappy? And just
Yeah.
list all the negatives and then have a huge contrast between.
We did think of doing that, and the reason it's not in there is typically because if people are coming to the course, they've had a pre-session with us, and like a pre-course, and we go through that in the pre. That's how they come to choose the course. We go through all that, you're right. So that's how, that's kind of part of the enrollment process.
Oh, I see.
in making. So they've already kind of dealt with that in a deep way. Saying, okay, I don't want this, that's what I want.
Well, I'm also thinking of
Right.
a course that we're putting together.
Then we
for
can
the
custom that, then absolutely put that in. Yes, yes, yes.
Because that will draw people in, like you said, in your pre-course.
Right.
There's a way to draw them in.
Right.
Do I want to continue to feel crappy?
Right. That's the enrollment process, right, right. But since we are kind of shifting to, this is the actual doing and application part, we're shifting to the point.
Sure.
But yeah, it's definitely, it is the part of the enrollment part. And now you said no to that, and I've already made the choice to get involved in this.
Okay.
And not only they've made the choice, but they've made an investment.
Mm.
It's very important. You guys are invested in this very profoundly in a big way. But if people aren't invested in this kind of activity, you ask the question, how do you get people to actually want impeccability? Well, it's difficult that, but if you can get them in some form to invest in something like this, that they might not necessarily want the impeccability itself, but they don't want to waste their investment. And so that leverage, particularly like a financial investment specifically, when they've committed to it in that way, they don't want to waste what they put the money in, so that makes them, now they want it because of it, or because of that. So it's kind of a little trick, but it does have very profound results.
Oh, absolutely.
When people pay just a little bit for a course, they don't get nearly the same results as when they pay big money for it.
They don't ascribe a value to it.
Exactly. So there's that too, precisely. And it changes the way your brain actually hears and registers what's coming in. You've now labeled this stuff as important. Why? Because I paid a lot of money for it. And you hear it as important, which means it has a very deep effect on you, a lasting effect. So it's quite incredible, you know, that it's such a simple little thing, but it makes all the difference. So yeah, you know, to get people out of their bubbles, that's probably the hardest thing of all, you know. It's a difficult deal. But awareness, it's all about awareness.
My brother's in a bubble right now.
Right. So lay out all the choices. Here's your negative choices, here's your positive choices, you know, here's your options. Don't even say positive, negative, just hear your options. Okay, you can be complaining, self-pity, immersion bubble, being stuck on unfairness and injustice. It's just an awareness exercise to kind of lay it all out.
Right.
And that's why we so love perspective shifting. Because really, that's the magic right there. All you want to do is all I was doing is just perspective shifting on your situation. And through being able to articulate each particular perspective, because now when I lay out all those windows and they're looking at the inside, they get to see the fullness of the whole picture inside themselves. It all gels together. Oh, yeah, crap, I don't want all that stuff. So, and then you know, do the same perspective shifting on the desirable and the way out. All right. Very exciting. Very exciting.
So, in respect to what Myles envisions, he's open to a whole new vision. But right now, his course is more his personal journey, but he's realizing there's so much more.
Correct. And I'm aware of that, and I specifically am not making a connectivity to it yet, because I want us to freeze.
Exactly.
So, let it all come together, right? Because the attunement part, which is the climax, this is the magic. This is where the magic lies. When you start to see that profoundness of life, and you realize that, man, life is not just a series of random shit and hot and cold and physical science forces. There's a more to things. Not just that there's a more in the sense of, well, there's always more, like more information. No, there's a more that's ineffable. There's a more that's magical. There's power in the world. And somehow I'm connected to that power. And also, the moreness of it is that, this power is intensely, ultimately, in the absolute maximum way, intimately personal, connected to me. Basically, the universe does revolve around us. That's the end point of it.
Right. Expanding consciousness.
Right. But I mean that, not just that, I mean in the sense of, like I'm the center of things, that all of this is there geared towards the purpose of jacking me up and getting me to be more. That's the whole purpose of everything. When you kind of click to that, it's like, wow, it's like a little bit overblown. You know, your ego can't even handle it because it's like its wildest fantasy come true, and then it just drops out because it's too much for it. So it's pretty awesome. Because it's humbling at the same time. Yeah.
You know what's interesting is, yes, there's all that, and in reality, though, the universe couldn't care less about you.
Exactly.
That's like a concept like, what?
Exactly. When we realize that, it's just a product of our intent, then we start to connect and click that this is a relationship. Us, the universe, it's part of the same spectrum. We are just at one end of it. So we have that capability to get to the other end of the spectrum. So one way of saying it, we can imagine the universe is in a process through you of becoming consciously and deliberately fully aware of itself.
Perfect.
Wow.
Perfect.
It's huge. Or you can say, God, that's what you are.
Yeah.
God is using you to become consciously and deliberately aware of itself.
And to put your unique spin on
Right.
life.
Right.
Yes, you are cosmic dust. You
Right.
originate from cosmic
Right.
dust, and you'll go back to that. But you are here to embody a life
Right.
that,
That could consciously and deliberately be the all.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So the universe is trying to become consciously aware of itself.
through you.
We could, and you are that mechanism precisely. And plus we have others, and they help us to be more aware. We help them to be more. You know, it doesn't care which one of you gets there. Anyone, it's all of you. All good.
This-
Doesn't matter. Same
this
thing.
is-
All in the same in the end.
This is universal spirituality.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And I'm thinking of your
Unity,
brother.
Uh, Centers for
Right.
Spiritual Living,
Right.
all of
Right.
those.
When we
Universal
start to
consciousness.
look at things like that, and we insist, absolutely insist, that there's not just a reason for everything. You hear this all the time, say, oh, there's a reason for everything. Fuck that. There's a good reason for everything, or at least there's a good reason involved, included somewhere. It's up to us to extract that good reason.
But the reason is not, it's for me.
It's
There's a reason
intimately
for me to
personal.
learn from
Correct, correct. That's the key. When we understand that whatever happens to us has included within it an intimately personal, precisely geared, good reason for you specifically.
you.
For you specifically.
key.
And good is not always nice.
Right.
That's something for your dictionary. Good is not always nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very stupid when I say it,
Yeah.
but so many people confuse the two, and they don't understand that's a difference. So I ask your brother, what would you choose when you absolutely have to? Do you choose good or do you choose nice? If you have to choose between the two.
You won't understand what that means.
Does he have children?
He does, and his son will not talk of it.
Doesn't
Son cut
matter.
it off.
If you could choose for your son, I'm God and I'm coming to you, say, I don't know anybody believes in God and I'm the universe, and I say to you, hey,
He's not.
right, doesn't matter. Whoever, right? I'm a super judge. I say, what do you choose? I'm going to give you a sentence here. And choose good or nice. But not for you, but for your child. What do you choose?
Goodness.
Of course, always. So he will understand. Everybody understands that when you put it in an appropriate context that connects to them. They always, you have to choose goodness. You can't just choose nice. Now, good and nice can go together, but they don't always. If you have to make the choice, you always choose good. So in other words, we are saying, hey, your disease might not be nice, but in some way it might be good for you. You have to figure out.
Speaking, I just thought of this. What a wonderful name for a product. Good and plenty.
There's
Right?
But isn't
There's
it? There are sweets
candy.
called Good and Plenty.
There's
Is that a great
candy.
name?
There's candy called Good and Plenty, right?
Yeah, those licorice candies.
It's licorice, it's like red and white little, like
Red and
little
pink.
elongated.
Licorice. Licorice.
Yeah.
I love that.
Right, but I mean, they're red on white on the outside and they're called Good and Plenty.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
already
great
name.
there, yeah.
It's a great name
They're
for a
pink,
product.
Yeah, yeah.
so
Huh?
pink. Pink and white.
Pink and white, yeah, yeah.
Can I utilize
So eat,
your
Myles,
product?
eat if you're hungry.
You know, I use
I mean, while we're on break.
Do you have a stone?
No.
Well,
Or
kind
a
of.
steamer or?
Yeah, it's a,
Oh, it's a,
how to do
You don't want microwave eating then, I'm assuming.
no, it gets soggy that way.
Alright. I like it when it gets a little soft, because they get kind of hard, but I guess
Oh, I
yours
like
is
it
not.
crispy.
Crispy, right. Yeah, that's it, just air. It's air
Yeah, that's fine.
convection.
That's awesome.
It works good
So
for
I want to tell a story that I've been meaning to tell.
Ah, brilliant.
A little parable. I want Myles to hear.
Oh, he's in the toilet.
How many minutes do you have? So confused.
Oh, 2 minutes probably, 3.
It's a
Actually, that thing's a little
convection
slower, so
type
4
thing?
minutes. Take it.
Convection oven type thing?
Yeah.
Convection.
Nice.
I just like it. Convection.
Yeah, if you're going to put it all in then, and then put for 5 there. I'll put just one slice.
You're welcome to share.
No, thank you.
This is a
I ate
vegan
this before you
pizza
guys
with no
came,
cheese.
so. I do love pizza, but
But it has no cheese. You may not like it.
it's alright.
Oh, you can put your own.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna go with
5. Oh, whatever you put in, don't worry. Just taste.
And it relates back to a lot of what we've been talking about, especially the universe doesn't care.
Exactly.
I know people don't like that though.
I know.
It's just energy. It's just energy.
It's energy.
Yeah, it's impartial, it's impersonal.
Right. But there is an intent to that energy, and that intent is to know more,
Right.
to be aware.
Myles,
Yeah.
I'm about to-
respectful.
I'm about to tell a parable, you may have heard this before, that relates to what we've been talking about.
You about to paraphrase?
A parable. Okay,
Okay,
an
what's
old
that?
Chinese proverb parable.
Oh, Confucius say?
Yeah. So there's a farmer who has a son, and they grow crops, they bring them to the market with their one horse and buggy, and the farmer depends on his son to help with the farm. And then one day the horse gets stung by a bee and runs away, and the neighbors say, "Oh, poor farmer, his one horse which he uses to plow the fields and take his crops to the market. What is he going to do? Oh my, oh my." The farmer says, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. Who's to say? You've heard this, right?
Yes. Many variations.
Yeah, there are many variations.
Keep going, keep going.
And then the next day, the horse returns, followed by 6 stallions, and now they have 7 horses. Who's to say? Good thing. So to carry it on, and it can go on forever and ever, but the son is breaking in one of the horses and falls and breaks his leg. And, oh, poor farmer, now his son can't help do the work, and blah, 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 and on and on. And then a little while later, there's a war that breaks out.
There you go. Yeah.
And all of the young men are conscripted except for the son who can't serve.
Because, yeah.
So there's, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah, always, yeah.
So it goes on and on.
Now abstract that. No, I love your story because it connects to what we're saying. Particularly for your brother. It's the key that makes that story work. The underlying core conception that we need to have to make it is overview perspective.
Yes.
When we have an overview perspective, then that story makes sense. And we say, it doesn't help to make sense of that story after the fact. We want to make sense of it in the moment.
As it's happening.
When we zoom out, then we can say, oh, maybe there's stuff that we don't know yet, we have to be patient. And there's the power of patience now comes into it. And we say, have to be wait impeccably, have forbearance, have discipline. Okay, there we let it go. But it's that overview perspective. Because if you did zoom out a little bit and say, well, in what way could this possibly be good? Then you're asking a different question. So, overview perspective is absolutely incredibly powerful. I mean, it's a superpower term for the dictionary of power. It's huge. And your brother could most decidedly use overview perspective, right? Absolute universal perspective. Changes everything.
That abstract
right.
perspective.
Right, so abstract perspective, universal perspective, overview perspective, all the same thing. Life perspective, same thing. Look at the big picture. Very, very, very important. Very, very important.
I think it also requires kind of a feeling of spirituality, which he's never had.
But forget the spirituality, just from a pure logical point of view. You see the big picture, you see how things fall into place and understand. Right? I mean, say if you're an engineer and you've got a whole production line and there's something wrong, you need to look at the entire deal, not just the specifics over here to see where it is. If you don't know where the problem is, right? You can't just start anywhere. You need to look at the fullness of the picture.
Would you mind if I record you and ask you a question like, what would you say to somebody who is facing a terminal illness? Would you mind responding?
Oh no, well, pleasure, anytime, always. I'm happy to. You don't even have to ask, just put the thing on and just ask, you know what I mean? Just, put it on and
I want
ask
to
the
draw
question.
you out more from what you're saying.
Ah, right. Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Director John.
Ah, it's all good, man, I don't mind.
Director John of Joy.
John of Joy, I love
John
it.
of Joy, I love that.
That's funny that we never said that before. We never said John of Joy, it's the first time I hear that.
John of Joy? Is it the first time you heard it?
Right, in our context, yeah.
No,
we've said it from the minute John said he's a joy seeker.
We said warrior of joy, but I never specifically...
we added, yeah.
It's new to me right today. So
Tweeted about it.
I'm happy when things are new. That's pretty awesome. Alright, so we want to hear that question though before you ask it.
I want to ask it right.
Right, but ask it in which specific context you want to ask it. Or is it just a general thing? Am I just giving a general perspective to that? Or, see what I mean? It's
How would
just
you
more
ask me
focused.
specifically?
Well, specifically, okay, is it this is about dealing with the reality of the terminal illness or something? Okay.
I mean, that's what he's facing.
Right. Okay, let me
Yeah, think about it.
Yeah, because you see, there's just it's very broad. What would I say to somebody who has terminal illness? It would have to be a little bit more specific in terms of what's your brother's name?
Dan.
Dan. be a bit more specific in terms of that. And you've given me quite a bit there, and it's, since he's not been spiritual all his life, this is about practicalities, right? So, and that's we were talking about overview perspective. So that's what I would say to him. You know, what helps in circumstances like that is to zoom out and look at the big picture. Yeah.
So the question would be, how would somebody deal with the knowledge that they're going to pass on in the near future?
Deal with mortality then? That's a different thing. Oh, you said with terminal illness, yeah.
Yeah.
So imminent mortality.
How would somebody deal with the realization of imminent mortality?
Yeah.
Is that good?
Oh yeah, however you want to ask it. Ask it as you would ask him. Think of Dan when you ask the question.
Right, so what we're getting at here is how can you shift your perspective, right?
There you go.
Oh, when I ask it that way, how can you shift your
Exactly.
perspective when you are facing imminent mortality?
There you go. There you go.
Good. So how can one shift their perspective when they're facing imminent mortality?
That's a good question. I do like that actually. So we applied lots of perspective shifting to pretty much everything. And part of what we're doing in being impeccable is to set ourselves up so we can deal with our mortality. So should it come, because we don't know when it's going to come soon, come later, we want to be ready to prepare. Now, in a real simple way, instead of going into the entire wholeness of it, very simple mechanism, develop overview perspective. Or you could say overview, looking at the totality perspective, universal perspective, complete picture perspective. That shift to say I'm not stuck in the immediate moment of now, whatever's pressuring me now, because I have to look at the wholeness of my life. I'm zooming out and I'm saying, hey, are all my things squared away? Am I in balance? Am I in tune? Am I at peace with myself and where I'm at? Have I made peace with life itself and the fact of my death? So if I put myself in that spot, I'm now saying I'm looking from this overall view and say, hey, it is what it is, I've done what I can do, I'm good, I'm in a good spot, I'm at peace. That's all I need, really.
And how would you suggest one to make peace with their life, with themselves? How would you get to that place? How can one get to that?
If you look from that overview perspective, you zoomed out and you're looking at the totality, and I'm the little guy down there and I'm looking down at myself. And now I'm using that perspective to look at myself. I say, dude, can you do anything about this? No, you can't. So I can make peace with it and get the hell on with your life and be cool, because otherwise you're just wasting your time and energy and you're stuck in your bubble. And you know, when death comes and taps you, you ain't going to be ready, because you're going to be in your bubble worrying about crap. Where you can be, the thing that you really got to deal with is about being at peace with yourself. That's the issue. Right? You don't want to go into death and not being at peace with yourself. That just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem to make sense in any way at all. So doesn't that help? I mean, that perspective, when you look at it and say, where's the point and purpose of me stressing and fretting and worrying about shit I can't do anything about? There's no point to it. So just leverage your own sensibility and logic. Hey, if death's coming here now, I don't have time to deal with this shit. Yes, I would have liked to had I had time, but since I don't have time, I just have to let it go and make peace with it. It is what it is.
Here's an unpopular, or even a popular opinion. The law of thermodynamics says that energy can't be created nor destroyed, just transferred. So we are in our essence energy.
Right.
And so if it can't be destroyed, that begets the theory of reincarnation.
Exactly.
And so whatever you didn't accomplish in this lifetime,